Hi, this is Emily of Beauties and Headcanons. Thanks for listening to the following broadcast on Public House Media.
This is Kim Meyer, the host of Choose to Rise here on Public House Media. Thanks for listening to the following broadcast on Public House Media. Once you're done with this episode, I hope you'll come check out my show, Choose to Rise, where we talk about living with positive mindsets, how to increase our confidence, building our faith, and living out our life on purpose. A new show comes out via podcast every Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And if you want to catch the episode live instead, stop by Public House Media around 6:45 Central Standard Time, Monday, Wednesday, Friday as well. Don't forget to subscribe on iTunes so you'll never miss an episode of Choose to Rise. Thanks again for checking out the following broadcast on Public House Media.
Throughout history, the course of sports has been shaped by one thing: the fans.
From the moments you never dreamed of,
Abby Wambach has saved the USA's life in this World Cup.
Hall, the runner, loose ball, it's good! Gonzaga, the flipper still fits!
To the moments that still give you nightmares.
Behind the bag, it gets through Buckner. Here comes Knight and the Mets win it.
He's in. Patriots win the Super Bowl. Brady has his fifth.
through the good and the bad, fans have helped change the games we watch and the players we love.
They may not be the most logical people.
You are a factory of sadness! I'll see you Sunday.
But they know their teams better than anybody.
They'll blow in the ninth.
You may not always see them, but you know where to find them.
After all, there's nothing quite like the view from the cheap seats.
Broadcasting as part of the Public House Media Network.
Grab a chair and enjoy all there is in
The cheap seats.
Welcome back in the cheap seats, ladies and gentlemen, here on this Monday, December 10th, 2018. It's clearly opposite day because I'm in North Carolina digging out from a foot of snow, and John is in New York with not having to deal with a foot of snow. Well, New Jersey, but
I had to shovel. I had to rake a lot of leaves yesterday, though. A lot of leaves. But I'd rather do that than snow. So
we got dumped on here in North Carolina yesterday. It was impressive. I woke up and decided, I'm not going outside today. So and didn't go outside at all. I didn't go outside at all on Sunday. So could have been worse, I guess. It could have been worse. I could have been like a Patriots fan and watched what happened at the end of that game. I could have been like, I don't know, a Broncos fan and watch this entire season. I could have been a Panthers fan and have to deal with this entire season. A Steelers fan and having to watch with John, what happened in the NFL yesterday?
Christian, you could be a Redskins fan and watch Mark Sanchez play quarterback. Weird league we are dealing with right now in the NFL. I mean, the Packers won. I didn't even know they knew how to do that.
Joe Philbin lost both of his challenges in the first quarter.
Yep, and Aaron Rodgers now has the most consecutive passes without an interception in NFL history, and it doesn't matter because the Packers are terrible. The Jets won a game. It's very weird. It was a strange day yesterday.
John, I saw this stat, and I wanted to bring this up, and I'm glad you mentioned the Jets. The Jets and Giants each won a game on the same day for the first time since the final week of the 2016 season. That was January 1st of 2017. It had been 30 consecutive NFL weeks, including bye weeks, since the Giants and Jets both won a game at the same time.
That's crazy.
That's an insane number. I lost my mind when I heard that.
Yeah, I put money on the Giants, and I also put it on the Bills, so I was 1 for 1 there.
Wow.
Look, Sam Darnold had a great end of the game drive. He looked really good. I figured he'd be rusty after being out for 4 or 5 weeks. Not the case. Played pretty well. Josh Allen played pretty well. Allen broke Michael Vick's record for the most rushing yards in 3 games for a quarterback.
Which is just
in
weird
3
to
consecutive
think of.
games. Yeah, very weird. That was an actually good game against, between two teams who were 4-9. But and look, the Giants were fantastic because the Redskins are just so terrible. That game was 40-0. Saquon Barkley was already the rookie of the year, and he's definitely wrapped it up now. 170 yards on 14 carries.
Yeah.
He was ridiculous. But Kyle Lauletta, Christian, 0 for 5, no yards, and an interception.
Yep, future's here. Get excited. Future's here, baby. I'm so happy. Look at that.
You got to see Josh Johnson. What a fourth quarter he had.
Who hasn't played in NFL games since 2011.
Yeah, he had 195 yards. He averaged 12 yards a pass attempt. Also had 7 carries for 45 yards and a touchdown. Yeah. Only the Giants could make a guy that hasn't played in 7 years look like a half-decent player.
Only.
And that just tells you how bad Mark Sanchez is, that against the Giants defense, he could only muster 38 yards, 6 for 14 with 2 picks. God, he's awful.
Yeah, no, he's not exactly what they call good. By the way, so the Giants now, because of all of this, thanks to our wonderful friends over at tankathon.com, the Giants are slowly moving out of the top 10 for a draft pick.
Yeah, why?
I'm fine with.
Why?
Because as we've said multiple times, John, I'm waiting for Jake Fromm. I'm waiting for it. And now that being said, listen, if Dwayne Haskins is there at number 9 or number 11, take Dwayne Haskins, for crying out loud.
Know they're not going to do that. Eli is starting all of next season.
I know.
Which is stupid, but that's what's going to happen.
But the problem is, what I'm concerned about is I look at this draft order and I see 3 teams that will probably be drafting a new quarterback in 2019 that are ahead of the Giants. Oakland, you would think, it seems as though David Carr's days are numbered there in Oakland.
Even though he's played really well of late, really well.
But will John Gruden really keep him? Does he want to go get his own guy?
I don't know. I mean, they just beat the Steelers yesterday.
And they may decide to trade him. Who knows? Because they trade everybody else on that team for whatever. You start to play well, and then you get traded in Oakland.
I mean, everybody's hating on Derek Carr. He's completing 69% of his passes, 16 touchdowns, 8 picks, quarterback rating of 95.
Oh, I love Derek Carr.
You know,
I love Derek Carr. He's what? He's 10 years younger than Eli?
Yeah.
He's 10 years younger than Eli? I'm fine with that if the Giants want to take him and figure – I mean, you're going to have to give up like Odell or somebody for him probably, or maybe just the 9th pick. You know, who knows? But you look at Oakland, maybe they don't. Let's for Giants fans, let's hope they don't get rid of Derek Carr. But then you've still got Jacksonville, who needs a new quarterback, and – is Tampa Bay really going to spend $21.5 million on Jameis Winston just to have him on the roster next year?
No, they're not.
But
the other issue is, I don't know if there's enough quarterbacks that are worth your time in the draft.
Not in the first round, in my opinion. Absolutely not. If I'm the Giants, I mean, I wait until the 40th round and maybe take Jake Locker, or until the 40th pick, in the second round. And maybe you take a Jake Locker. Maybe you take, but here's the thing. We're going to do this, and we can analyze this as we get closer to the draft, but we're going to overhype quarterbacks. Justin Herbert, if he comes out. Will Grier, Dwayne Haskins. Some idiot is going to draft Kyler Murray, even though he's going to go play baseball. Drew Lock.
I'm not so sure he's going to play baseball now.
He's already got a $4 million signing bonus in the top 10 draft pick.
I know. I mean, look, he very well could play both sports.
He could. It was interesting to hear him talk on Saturday at halftime of the Army-Navy game on CBS about that, and he kind of hinted that he wasn't going to try to do both. But I don't know. Could he? I think he could, most definitely. I don't know if he'll try it though. But we'll see. He seems as though baseball is his love, and you can make a lot more guaranteed money and play a lot longer in baseball.
That's true.
So,
but, going back to the quarterbacks, we don't know for sure if Herbert's coming out.
Right.
Haskins definitely will, I'm sure. But there's Locke. There's really not that many interesting guys. That guy from Duke, people seem to be high on, Jones. But I don't know. I mean, teams are going to reach for quarterbacks because they always do, but I just don't think there are that many in this draft class.
I don't think so either, and honestly, I mean, I think I only see really 2 that get drafted in the first round, assuming Herbert doesn't come out. If Herbert comes out and is eligible and enters into the draft, he becomes your 3rd. But I think someone goes after Will Grier and someone takes Dwayne Haskins in the first round.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people love Drew Lock, love the kid out of Missouri. I think he falls to the second round.
And see, I'm not even sure if Will Grier goes in the first round. I'm not 100% sold on him either.
Me neither. To me, the best quarterback who's eligible right now is Dwayne Haskins.
100%.
So,
100%.
But we'll see. All right.
In any other year, real quick, in any other year, he wins the Heisman.
Agreed. 100% agreed. 100% agreed on that.
All three of those guys could have won the Heisman. By the way, told you that Tua lost the Heisman.
You were right.
I told you.
You were right last week. You said that. So back to back for Oklahoma. Good on them. When we come back, John and I brought it up last week. John, tried to knock me down off of my excitement. And a lot of people are seemingly. They're not open to my idea as so much as they are the premise of an expanded playoff. So we're going to make the real case, a legitimate case for expansion. We're going to talk as to many of the reasons why it's good, why it could be bad, and we'll ultimately leave the decision up to you, the fans, to check out by visiting us on Facebook, The Cheap Seats by Public House Media. Don't forget to head to publichousemedia.org to learn all the information you want about all the great shows we have here as part of the Public House Media Network. We'll be back in a bit. You're in the Cheap Seats here on the Public House Media Network, broadcasted and brought to you by Squadcast.fm.
This is Bryce Burge, host of Your Soccer Passport here on Public House Media. After this episode, come join us on a trip around the soccer world as we discuss club and country every Tuesday. Stamp your soccer passport by subscribing on Spotify, iTunes, or wherever you get your Public House Media podcasts. And thanks again for checking out the following broadcast on Public House Media.
This is Jenna Burt, host of the Confessions of a Military Spouse podcast here on Public House Media. Thanks for listening to the following broadcast on Public House Media. Once you're done with this episode, I hope you'll come check out my show, Confessions of a Military Spouse, where we dig deep and talk about the unspoken hard truths of what it's really like to be a military spouse. A new show comes out bi-weekly. Don't forget to subscribe on iTunes so you never miss an episode of Confessions of a Military Spouse. Thanks again for checking out the following broadcast on Public House Media.
Back inside the Cheap Seats here on the Public House Media Network, presented by Squadcast.fm. Jon Lauder, Christian Heimall with you on a Monday, December 10th, 2018. Second segment here of our show. We're going to start to do this now in our shows here on a Monday. They already do it on the Wednesday, kind of go deeper into a certain topic. Last week, Christian decided to just grace the world with this ridiculous proposal for 16 teams. There were seeds and this and that.
Yeah.
And,
I even had sites.
And Mount St. Mary's doesn't have a football team.
That's not true.
I mean, it was ridiculous.
That's not true.
So we're going to talk about playoff expansion, football versus basketball. Should football expand? Obviously, basketball's expanded to just a couple more teams. And I hope they never expand again, but that's a different discussion. But anyway, I will once again give Christian the floor, and then I will yell at his floor.
So here was again, for those of you who didn't listen to the show last week, please go back and do, because I happen to like my idea. I happen to like my idea. And honestly, I think a lot of people, John, are open to the idea of 16 teams, just maybe not the 16 that I put in there.
Yes.
So I had 16 teams, 10 automatic qualifiers from the 10 conferences at the FBS level, and then 6 at-large bids. Now, I will say this. All 5 of my at-large bids came from those Power 5 schools, the one exception being Notre Dame, the independent. So, that crowd was at least happy. That being said, John, the real discussion here for us and for all of you listening really is the reason for or against having an expanded college football playoff. And there are a number of reasons to get into it, John, but let's just run down a couple of them here real quick. Number one, the UCF/Group of 5 argument.
Yes.
UCF has now won 25 consecutive games. They are 12-0 after winning yet another American Athletic Conference. They are going to play LSU on New Year's Day in one of the New Year's Six Bowls. And if they win that, they will be 13-0 and undefeated for another consecutive season. And unless Alabama, Clemson, or Notre Dame wins the national title, which, let's be honest, most likely is going to happen, they will be the only undefeated team in the top 25, and they will probably claim back-to-back national championships either way here. So for that reason and that reason alone, is expansion worth it, the UCF/Group of Five inclusion?
For them, yes. Now, I will say that Mackenzie Milton getting injured does change things.
Mm-hmm.
I would be stunned if they beat LSU without Milton. But I didn't expect them to beat Auburn last year with Milton. So
True.
I think some people thought they might take a bit of a step back once Scott Frost left for Nebraska, but Josh Heupel's done a tremendous job.
Phenomenal.
If anybody, remembers that name a little bit, former Oklahoma quarterback.
Right.
But look, UCF clearly has shown that they deserve a chance to be in the playoff. Now, I don't believe that they deserve to be in over any of the 4 teams that were selected, but they deserve a shot. And just on that alone, even if you don't have any other reasons to expand the playoff, that is a reason right there. Because I also feel like there are some other teams that deserve to have an opportunity. I would like to have seen Ohio State have a chance.
I would have liked to have seen Michigan.
Yeah, sure. Even though Michigan lost twice, I think their defense was very good. I would have liked to have seen them too.
Their 2 losses came to the number 3 team in the country and Ohio State. So,
correct.
A very bad loss. But anyway.
Yeah. Now, I still would prefer 8 over 16. However, if 16 is the only way it's going to expand, I would take that too, because 4 is just not enough. And UCF is definitely one of the reasons why. I agree 100%. Now,
here's the big problem that a lot of people have with the UCF. It's when and I forget the article that I read. It was somewhere. I think it might have been on the Ringer, where it was the quote, "They don't play nobody" idiom being used when actually deciding who gets in and who doesn't. Is this strength of schedule, this who do they play type deal. And I saw this actually over the weekend. Some people, screaming about Army, Navy and how that's not, both the service academies are terrible at football. And someone's talking about how Army's, going to be a top 25 team for the first time since '96, but they don't play anybody, whatever, all that stuff. So,
right.
John, the SEC commissioner came out last week and made some comments about this. SEC commissioner, and the name, my brain is not working. Greg Sankey said this past Thursday that UCF should look inward to address strength of schedule issues that have held them back, as opposed to blaming the system and looking for expansion or crying that they're being left out looking in. Sankey saying we're trying to compare UCF in the college football playoff to the SEC in 2016 when only 3 teams made the NCAA basketball tournament. This is where Greg Sankey is wrong on a number of occasions. Number one, the college football playoff has 4 teams, which, if my math is correct, is something like 3% of all FBS teams that make the playoff. College basketball, on the other hand, has 19% of teams. Baseball has 22%, and then hockey has 27% of teams that make the playoffs. So there is, number one, it's not comparing the same thing. Number two, John, and this is where I really have an issue, is football schedules are done recruiting classes in advance, not years in it, but recruiting classes in advance. Meanwhile, you and I have been in college basketball and worked in it long enough to know that those schedules can be finalized like in March during the college basketball tournament for the next year.
Sometimes even later than that.
Exactly. Sometimes even in June. You decide you're going to play somebody in 4 months or right. 5 months, whatever it is. So I don't agree with what the SEC commissioner had to say with regards to that UCF should look inward.
No, I'm with you. Yes, they should schedule better teams, but first of all, they're in a conference, so they have to play their conference opponents, right. Number one. And number two, this is also an issue in college basketball where you have a lot more games. Mm-hmm. You play 30 to 35 games in a season as opposed to 12. But a lot of these teams don't want to go to UCF and risk losing.
Right.
So they want them to either come to them or plan a neutral site. Now, I'm not saying UCF's not willing to do that, but I'm sure they'd like some home games against some of these good teams for revenue purposes as well. So,
of course.
I don't know. It's far more complicated than, Sankey wants to make it out to be.
Exactly.
Okay. Just saying schedule better is like, telling me, eat better. Right.
Right.
It's like, it's just not that simple. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
There's nuance to it.
Right.
And Sankey's not including any of that nuance in his argument at all.
No, he's not. And then right on the heels of that, Florida Athletic Director Scott Strickland said he would welcome a 2-for-1 series against UCF. Quote, I'd be okay with scheduling them in the right situation. That right there proves what you just said. In the right situation. Basically meaning when we don't think UCF is going to be able to beat us is when we will schedule UCF.
Right.
So Florida and Central Florida last played 2006, 42-0 win by the Gators. They went on to win the national championship. They had been scheduled to play them the following year, but UCF got out of the game and ended up paying a $100,000 buyout, which I did not know that those teams could do. Strickland said he and UCF Athletic Director Danny White have not spoken about scheduling a game. Quote, we haven't had a spot where we thought this made sense at this point. I'm encouraged, and then Danny White said, I'm encouraged to hear that UF is open to the idea of playing us in football. Since I've been here, it had been made clear to me there wasn't much hope of that. Our scheduling philosophy has been transparent since I arrived at UCF, that we're open to a home-and-home series with any non-conference Power 6 opponent. Saying, quote, top 10 programs don't schedule a 2-for-1 series where the balance is not in their favor. Again, it's all about these Power 5 schools, these top programs, to be able to beat up on somebody else. But, John, here's where I'm going to bring back my argument in my 16-team playoff, because if you're guaranteed to make the playoff by winning your conference championship, the need to go out and play a top 10 program is no longer necessary, and then these top 10 programs don't have to worry about that because they might lose, or they're at least guaranteed still in a non-conference loss to still win their conference and make the playoff. So I'm just going to go back to that argument real quick.
Yeah, that is true. I do believe in some ways that negatively affects the regular season, though. But the other element of it is I actually agree with the Florida AD saying 2-for-1, okay? Mm-hmm. UCF is not a top 10 team every season, okay? In fact, they've been a train wreck for the most part. So, you know what? I'm sorry. If a 2-for-1's the best you're going to get, you need to take it, okay?
I agree.
So Danny White's saying, we only do home and... Like, shut up, dude. It's not Alabama, okay? So, a lot of the times I feel like we're, it's all black and white and no gray.
Right.
Like
we're trying to make it too simple.
Correct. The SEC commissioner is all the way on one side, and Danny White's all the way on the other side. Mm-hmm. Okay? Like, you need to find a middle ground here. Yes. If Florida's willing to do the 2-for-1, that's better than nothing, and you should take it.
Right. No, I agree.
Because,
I agree.
I don't know.
But at the same time, to me, the other part of it is, again, how long these schedules are planned out. I mean, Mackenzie Milton wasn't scheduled to play, these guys when he was being recruited. It's just what the schedule was. He was, is not necessarily that fair. Here's another idea that I'm just going to throw out there because it just popped into my head. What if all of these powers, there's been rumors and there have been thoughts of consolidating into 4 16-team super conferences, and then we don't have to worry about any of this crap for football. What if we did how like the Big Ten and the ACC and the SEC and the Pac-12, if we, you weren't, and I know how they schedule, they do it where they have to play their division and that's it, as opposed to, they don't have to do all these interdivision matchups all the time.
Right.
And then you can use those extra maybe 2 or 3 games to go and schedule those other non-conference opponents. Like, what if every conference, part of your reason, the requirement to have an automatic qualifier is that you have divisions, which then frees up some extra games for you to go play non-conference.
That's true.
Just a random thought in my head to be able to go there. You're in the Cheap Seats here on the Public House Media Network. Christian Heimall, Jon Lauder here with you. Don't forget to find us on Twitter and Instagram. Just search the Cheap Seats PHM. You can also find us on Facebook, Cheap Seats by Public House Media. One of the other issues, John, one of the reasons why I made my argument for college playoff expansion the way I did is because I want to get rid of these silly, meaningless bowl games. These games that literally have no implication on a championship. It's a made-up trophy to put on your mantle, whoop-de-doo, that nobody really remembers. You don't hang banners for these things. You legitimize those games, though, if they are first-round, second-round playoff games. And then you don't have things like we had over the weekend with West Virginia quarterback Will Grier saying he's going to sit out of his team's bowl game to be able to prepare for the NFL draft. I'm sorry. I hate this stuff. I can't stand it. When a player just sits there and says, you know what, I'm not going to play this one game just to be able to focus on the draft. I'm sorry. If you're not going to play that one game, pull a Nick Bosa and don't play the entire season instead. That's just my personal opinion. You owe, in my opinion, and again, I'm going to say this as someone who has never put on football pads, has never set foot into that kind of locker room, that kind of atmosphere. You owe something to your teammates to finish out a season.
I actually disagree.
Okay.
Now look, do I think it's the best thing to do? No. But at the end of the day, these guys are not paid. Okay? Mm-hmm. They, Will Grier's goal in his career is to play in the NFL, not mm-hmm. to win the Idaho Potato Jammer Bowl for West Virginia. Okay? So, look, I would prefer he played, but I'm not going to flip out about him not playing or Nick Bosa not playing, because at the end of the day, it's about the NFL. And mm-hmm. college football makes ridiculous amounts of money profiting off these players that don't get a dime. Mm-hmm. So you know what? If you don't want to play, don't play. I would prefer they played. I'm not saying I wouldn't prefer it, mm-hmm. but at the end of the day, I know you're supposed to do it for your teammates, but at the end of the day, that's kind of a cliched thing. You also have to look out for yourself and for your own interests as well.
I understand that, and I will always bring this back when people say, these guys aren't getting paid. They're trying to watch out. They're trying to make sure they don't get injured. I'm sorry, but one extra game is really Aaron Boone tore his Achilles playing pickup basketball. Ben Roethlisberger got into a motorcycle accident in the offseason. These things, injuries happen. If they're going to happen, they're going to happen. So don't tell me that you shouldn't play to risk injury. Then you just shouldn't play in general, in my opinion. And these guys who are saying, they're not getting paid. Remember when Christian McCaffrey sat out his bowl game?
Yeah.
A couple of years ago from Stanford? Christian McCaffrey had a $5 million insurance policy taken out on his talents in case he got hurt during his college career. He had a $3 million insurance policy if he fell beyond the 40th pick. These guys will find ways to get paid one way or the other.
That true
to me makes no sense. So if you make these meaningless bowl games meaningful by making them a playoff game, then you don't have these things happen. If the Camping World Bowl is a first-round matchup, which, listen, it's not going to be. We know that. West Virginia and Syracuse are – maybe they would be a first-round matchup. Who knows? In a 16-team playoff, that'd actually be kind of fun to watch. But let's be honest. The reason he's skipping out is because this game literally means nothing to their season. Nobody's going to remember who won the 2018 Camping World Bowl in the next 3 years, let alone 20 years. So
yeah, the players that play in it aren't going to remember. So
exactly. So I mean, that's just another argument for me as to why we need playoff expansion and why the way that I feel like the way that I've proposed is a way that I think could realistically work. So, but who knows? You never know. So John, that leads us to the poll question. And we can also, I want to bring this up too in a second, but this leads us to a poll question. And which one? I mean, we've tossed around a couple ideas, John, here about where the poll or where the playoff could go, should go. Do we want to do it as to when, how many, if, or just make it a simple yes and no?
Well, you know what? I think we should college football playoff expand to 8 or 16 teams.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. So that's a poll question. Head to the Cheap Seats by Public House Media on Facebook. 8 or 16. I know Max and Keith brought this up a couple of months ago on the Wednesday show, but I'm interested to see how people feel now after seeing how things played out with the college football playoff. So we'll see what happens. All right, when we return, a little bit of a shorter show. We're going to start changing the format a little bit here in the cheap seats, which hopefully you guys enjoy, leads to some more listeners, leads to some more intriguing insight and discussion here on our social media as well. But we are never going to go away from our Monday Night Football picks because John will not, let me live down the fact that he's up 2.5 games on me in the standings.
Woo!
So,
yeah!
And our Mojo Monday is coming up in a little bit as well. You're in the cheap seats here on the Public House Media Network, presented by Squadcast.fm.
This is Jessica Hammer, co-host of Crowned and Dangerous here on Public House Media. Thanks for listening to the following broadcast on Public House Media. Once you are done with this episode, I hope you'll come check out my show, Crowned and Dangerous, where Maddie and I talk about all things pageant related, especially our experiences in the Miss America organization. A new show comes out bi-weekly, every other Thursday. Don't forget to subscribe on iTunes so you never miss an episode of Crowned and Dangerous. Thanks again for checking out the following broadcast on Public House Media.
How's it going, everybody?
Hey guys,
this is Keith
and Katie from Coffee with Keith and Katie on Public House Media.
Thanks for listening to the following broadcast on Public House Media.
When you're done listening to this show, I hope you'll come check out our show, Coffee with Keith and Katie. A new episode comes out every Sunday morning at 9 o'clock.
Thanks for listening to the following broadcast on Public House Media.
All right, so Monday Night Football here inside the cheap seats on the Public House Media Network, presented by Squadcast.fm. Jon Lauder, Christian Heimall with you.
Oh, man.
I am 7-4-1 now. What up? And Christian is 5-7-1. So this is just
yeah. Let's not forget the fact that you skipped a week.
Yeah, I know, but I probably would have gotten that one anyway.
Probably. Which would then make it even worse because then you'd be 3 games up instead of 2.5.
Yes,
but
so you should be happy that it's not as much. So anyway,
how am I? By the way, hang on. In our cheap seats pick'em league, which you can go to, with a 97% pick rate for some reason.
No, that's total points, not pick rate.
Oh, is it total points? I thought my percentage is like ridiculous. What is my percentage?
No, that's. I think you're in the high 80s though.
No, my percentage is 97. I have 131 points, and I have 97%. Yeah.
How the hell? What?
97.1%. You're at 90.1, and yet I'm terrible. It's because it's the spread. This is our pick'em league is a straight pick'em league, which, by the way, still not too late to go join. You can head to the Cheap Seats by Public House Media on Facebook. The link is right there, pinned to the top of our Facebook page. You can join the league and compete against all of our Public House Media hosts to win prizes every single week, and see what you can do. But how am I? How?
Well, did you do well this week?
No, I did. Well, let me see. I think I had it was like 8 and 7 question mark.
Yeah, this was a bad week for a lot of people. I think.
Yeah. So not great. Not a great week, but yeah. So anyway, so John's up on me. We got we got Seahawks Vikings tonight. Seattle a 3-point favorite. So who do you get?
Correct. Now, real quick, who's home for this?
Seattle.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah. So I'm gonna. This is tough because both of these teams are right in the thick of it for the playoffs. I mean, look, I never want to pick the Vikings as a Packers fan,
right?
But I think this is hard. I mean, Minnesota basically has to win this game. If they lose this game, they really have no shot to make the playoffs at this point. Well, I don't want to say no shot because Philadelphia is 6-7 now, and so are the Panthers. But they really need this game. I think just because Seattle's at home, I'm going to take the Seahawks, but I would not be surprised at all if Minnesota won this game. Seattle, kind of quietly has had a pretty nice year. Russell Wilson's played really well. They're plus 60 in point differential. They've won 3 in a row. So, yeah, I'm going to go with Seattle. I don't feel real great about it, but I'm 2.5 games up on you, so I've got a little bit of breathing room, so I will take Seattle.
Yeah, 3-point favorite, which to me is which most people associate as the Vegas comp because you're at home. So it's Vegas basically assumes this is a pick'em game, even though what's weird is ESPN, a lot of people, 74% on ESPN are picking Seattle in this. I picked the Vikings in our pick'em league. You took Seattle, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm gonna go against you here just to try to get points here.
Makes sense.
We're getting late in the year, so I'm gonna go Minnesota. I mean, I did pick them in our pick'em league as well. I picked them to win outright, so I'm picking Minnesota here. I like Latavius Murray a lot. So
fair enough.
Yeah. All right. As we do every single week, someone's got it, whether it's good or it's bad. It's a Mojo Monday here. John, I've got a double dose of good Mojo.
A
double dose of good Mojo to start off. First, I can't ever go a show without talking baseball, so I'm going to bring it up.
Of course you are.
Lee Smith and Harold Baines elected to the Baseball Hall of Fame on Sunday night as part of the Today's Game era voting results. Now, for those of you who were wondering, well, those guys weren't on the ballot that was announced a couple weeks ago, you're right, because there are 4 era committees for people to vote on that are separate from the Baseball Writers Association votes. It's the modern baseball era, Today's Game era, the golden days, and the early baseball era. Now, Today's Game and modern baseball are looked at twice every 5 years. So these people are from 1988 to the present who have made indelible contributions to baseball. And Lee Smith, who, when he retired, was the Mariano Rivera of baseball, had 478 saves when he retired, was the third, is now currently third on that list behind Mo Rivera and Trevor Hoffman, 7-time All-Star, 3-time Relief Man of the Year, finished in the top 5 for Cy Young voting 3 times, and is one of 3 closers in history with at least 10 seasons with 30 or more saves. He most certainly deserved to be in, never got voted in until now. And then Harold Baines, a 6-time All-Star, number 1 overall draft pick by the White Sox, Silver Slugger, and twice he placed in the top 10 in AL MVP voting. One of White Sox favorite people, for the White Sox. So good on both of them for finally getting into the Hall of Fame. And congratulations to Lee Smith and to Harold Baines, not Harold Raines, who, is another one there for baseball. So that's my first one.
No, that's Tim Raines, isn't it?
Correct. Yes, Tim Raines. Sorry.
So I'd say, who's Harold Raines? I was like, is there another Raines?
Harold Reynolds?
Harold Reynolds?
Anyway, so that's my first good mojos. Congratulations to those 2 guys. My second good mojo, it's pretty obvious, John. For the 3rd straight year, Army beat Navy this past weekend. The Commander-in-Chief's trophy remains in West Point for the 2nd consecutive year. Army will finish this season ranked in the top 25 for the first time since 1996. We've already mentioned how great of a season they've had. Back-to-back 10-win seasons for the first time in program history. That win over Navy secured, by the way. So as an Army brat and as an Army brother of 2 active duty soldiers, that is my national championship game every single year because it's rare that Notre Dame ever has a shot at the national title. So that's the one that we root for. And, last time Notre Dame had a streak going this long was 92-96 when they won 5 in a row. Army had a streak this long was 92-96 when they won 5 in a row. So for the 3rd straight year, we got to sing second, and that's good on Army, good on them. So
Jeff Monken definitely going to leave, right?
No. No. Because Jeff Monken, I don't know if he knows how to coach anything other than the triple option.
That's true. And Georgia Tech hired somebody already. So.
That's true. Georgia Tech did hire somebody. Oh man, that'd be. He wouldn't win the ACC with that offense, but it'd be fun to watch.
It would. It would.
And I'm one of those people. I like that stuff. I like that type of football. That's just
it's different. So, it's different. Yeah. It's nice. All right, so mine's bad mojo. I'm going to keep it real quick. So Kyler Murray, as you all should know at this point, won the Heisman on Saturday. And then hours after he won the Heisman Trophy, multiple anti-gay tweets that were posted by him 7 years ago surfaced online. They were picked up by a number of different news outlets. So Murray had to apologize in the morning Sunday morning. At 3:11 in the morning, he tweeted, "I apologize for the tweets that have come to light tonight from when I was 14 and 15. I used a poor choice of word that doesn't reflect who I am or what I believe. I did not intend to single out any individual or group." I am really getting tired of this. This is getting incredibly annoying. It's stupid. It's obnoxious. Whatever loser is sitting in their parents' basement, filing through Kyler Murray's tweets at midnight on a Sunday needs to get some friends, okay? Mm-hmm. I'm really starting to get tired of this, all right? Look, I am not suggesting that homophobic tweets are, appropriate in any way. I know we've seen this with Josh Hader. I feel like we see this, once every couple of months at this point.
Anytime some young kid gets success.
Yes, exactly.
Or any person gets success in general. Kevin Hart just this past week, so.
Right, exactly. Thank you. Murray was 14, okay? When I was 14, I had trouble putting my own pants on, okay? So, first of all, 14-year-olds shouldn't be on Twitter. They are, but they shouldn't be. Second of all, you cannot hold something that Kyler Murray said against him from 7 years ago, okay? Mm-hmm. I can assure you that he has changed significantly from when he was 14 to now when he is college football's best player and a number one, a first-round pick in Major League Baseball, okay? So we've all got to stop digging through people's tweets and stop crapping on people when they get a modicum of success, all right? I mean, enough of this now. It's obnoxious, and I'm tired of it. So that's my bad mojo. Whoever came up with this initially, shame on you.
Can't say I disagree with you on that one, to be 100% honest with you, John. So that's going to do it for us on the show. Don't forget to head to our Facebook page, The Cheap Seats by Public House Media. Vote on the poll question: should college football expand its playoff from 4 teams to 8 or 16?
Eight.
I'm always going to fight for 16. I'm always going to fight for it, just because as soon as we go to 8, it's going to go to 16 pretty quickly after that. So might as well just go crazy now. You can also find us on Twitter and Instagram. Just search The Cheap Seats PHM. Head to publichousemedia.org if you want to learn more about any of our shows here on the Public House Media Network. You can also head to squadcast.fm if you want to learn how easy it is to put together a podcast like John and I do every single week. You can find John on Twitter at JON_LAUDER. You can find me on Twitter as well at Chris Heimall, CHRISHEIMALL. Don't forget a brand new show coming out on Wednesday and Friday as well. We really appreciate you guys being here on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, wherever you get your podcast. We appreciate you spending it up here in the cheap seats on the Public House Media Network, presented by Squadcast.fm.